I really want to ask the men, how do you feel misunderstood by women?
Before I answer this, I gotta say one thing. I've done hundreds of videos by now where I've answered the questions from women, and almost universally, the same thing happens in the comments of every video. I get dozens, hundreds, thousands, in some cases, tens of thousands of comments from men going, "Yep, he's 100% right. Couldn't agree more." And inevitably, the responses from the women, the few that are there, are always the same. "You're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about." It's like clockwork, and it goes to show that not only are women not hearing what men say, they're not even willing to listen to what they're having to say. And I have no doubt that's exactly what's going to happen with this video. But I'm not one to give up. I'm going to keep plugging away and answering these questions. And I'm not going to give just one answer to this question. I'm going to give 3. But before we do, let's dive in and see her whole video and see what she has to say.
Okay, so I've decided since I made this prompt, I really want to ask the men, how do you feel misunderstood by women? What do you feel like women don't understand about you? Because this man just answered something. I think it's just really good for the women. I think it's really good to open up the space to ask this. Where do you feel misunderstood? Where do you want to be seen? Where do you want to be there to be clarity in the way that you are seen? Okay, go.
All right, let's answer this question. But before we do, I want to give a shout out to this young lady because she's asking a great question, and I believe she genuinely wants to know the answer. But I also know she's the exception, not the rule. Most women are not going to watch this. They've already checked out because they don't actually want to learn anything about men. They'd rather decide for themselves and in many cases literally make stuff up in their own mind about men and make that their reality. But let's address what I feel are the top 3 things that men feel misunderstood about. And the truth of the matter is, I could name a dozen things, and they're in no particular order. These just happen to be my opinion of what are the top 3 based on my own personal experiences and having worked with literally hundreds of men over the years. Not to mention the thousands upon thousands of comments men have made on my videos. So the first thing that really sets men off that they believe they're misunderstood about is that somehow they're nothing more than Neanderthals. They have tiny little brains and are incapable of things like feeding themselves or taking care of children. Now that may sound extreme, yet that's the exact mindset the overwhelming majority of today's modern women have. It's the argument made in family court every single day that fathers are incapable of taking care of themselves, let alone the children. I hate to break it to you ladies, but men cook and clean and take care of children and all those other things you claim we're unable to do every single day by the millions. The truth of the matter is it's not that we can't or don't do those things. It's that you ladies refuse to acknowledge that we do those things. Or if you do, putting in a little caveat that we're doing it wrong. You know, that weaponized incompetence thing, just because we happen to fold the towels slightly different than the way you do. Just because you think your way is the only way doesn't mean it isn't getting done. And for every man you want to point to that you claim can't do that, I hate to break it to you, but we can make the same claim about women. But rather than accept and believe that, you'd rather believe the stereotype that's been created by Hollywood that paints all men to be like Homer Simpson, which is also parroted by sad, lonely women who can't get, let alone keep a man because of their toxicity, and thus run around trying to get as many other women as they can to join them in their misery by demeaning men and implying they're incapable of taking care of themselves. Next up is this belief that women have that the one and only thing that men see women as good for is, as one of my fellow creators calls it, horizontal refreshments. The reality is that belief is actually the one of women. Women, and especially today's modern women, have made it abundantly clear that to them, relationships are nothing more than business transactions. If he spends or does enough that she finds worthy, then maybe, just maybe, she'll give him some horizontal refreshments. That is what a relationship is to her, and she projects that onto men, which is a complete misunderstanding, because men view it completely differently. Now, let me be clear. We're not talking about hookups and one and dones here. We're not talking about women trying to rack up a body count in the thousands because they somehow think that that makes them strong and independent. We're talking about within relationships, specifically exclusive relationships, which honestly should be on the endangered species list because they're going away faster than the dodo bird. You see, what women fail to acknowledge, let alone accept, is that within the context of an exclusive relationship, relationship. Those horizontal refreshments aren't part of intimacy, they define it. And when women play games with it or deny it, they're making it very clear to men that they don't love them or want them, or that if he wants any with you, it's gonna come at a price. It's not going to be freely given. In other words, your intimacy has to be bought. It is not freely given. It is not giving out of love or caring or affection. It's a business transaction. Nothing more, nothing less. And when you do that over and over and over again, as so many women do, he will eventually realize that it's really not much different than what he could get down the street without all the emotional drama attached to it, if you catch my drift. Now, I know there's a bunch of women losing their minds at that very thought, but that is the reality, because they misunderstand just how deep horizontal refreshments affect the intimacy of a relationship for a man. As I said, they're not just part of it, they define it. And for all you women screaming, well, maybe if he met my emotional needs more, he'd get some more, it works exactly the same way in reverse. When you deny a man what he views as intimacy, why would he waste any time or effort giving you what you view as intimacy? And in speaking with men, it's almost invariably the case that that's exactly what's happened. You've either weaponized or denied or played games with his intimacy and then turned around and blame him for it by claiming he's not meeting your intimacy needs. It's a no-win situation for him, and the best solution is to just say F it. Pun intended. And the biggest one of all, at least in my opinion, though I'll be the first to tell you many men might disagree with me, is that women do not understand that the struggles that men face, the pain they face, the expectations that are placed on us are really not all that different from those that are placed on women. Yes, there are some subtle differences, but the reality is, for the overwhelming majority of issues that women face, the very same issues apply to men. But there is one big difference. Women are encouraged to talk about their struggles and to share their feelings and emotions about them. Hell, it's glorified by other women, the media, indeed all of society when they do so. She'll get told, "You go, girl," or "It's not your fault," or if she's crying, "Oh, you poor sad thing, don't worry, I'm here to help you." It's why women wallow in victim mode, because they're going to get never-ending attention from anyone and everyone. Men, not so much. In fact, if he dares to open up and share those feelings or talk about the struggles he's faced, he's going to be attacked, especially by women, for daring to be vulnerable. He's going to be viewed as weak, a mama's boy who just needs to man up. And worse, that's exactly what he'll be told. And not just at that moment, but if he's in a relationship with a woman, she'll throw that in his face time and time and time again for decades to come. As I said earlier, ladies, we men are really not all that much different from you. Think about how you would feel if 20 years from now, some vulnerability that you let a man in your life know about was weaponized and used to hurt you, to imply that you're somehow lesser because you were vulnerable in that moment. Yet it's something men deal with every single day and in almost every single relationship. And what you fail to understand, what you will never accept or believe, is that men are human beings. As I said, no different really than women, and as such are deserving of the same kindness, caring, and consideration that women expect to receive. Yet men never get it, which is why the biggest misunderstanding that women have about men, at least in my opinion, is that they as women are deserving of everything while having absolutely no obligation to offer a single thing in return.